Welcome, senior leaders, to today's Strategic Explainer. Today, we're taking a deep, fascinating look into the actual architecture of achievement. We're going to take traditional personal success principles and completely reframe them into an absolute organizational imperative. Because let's face it, if you want to build and sustain high-performing teams, this stuff isn't optional. Whether you're steering an entire company, managing a specific division, or leading a critical new initiative, the concepts we're unpacking today, they are literally the foundation of your long-term success. Okay, let's dive right into this roadmap. We're covering 6 core pillars today: the psychology of leadership, solution-oriented thinking, the power of self-belief, strategic delayed gratification, fostering a growth mindset, and finally, cultivating high-performing environments. Now, I want you to view these upcoming pillars as the essential bridge closing the gap between stagnant, average results and truly exceptional organizational outcomes. Think about the question right here. Why do 2 competing companies with the exact same education, the exact same opportunities, and the very same starting point end up with completely different trajectories, right? One becomes wildly successful, dominating their market, while the other just stays completely stuck. Well, the difference isn't luck, it isn't raw talent, and it honestly isn't even access to capital. The biggest differentiator is the underlying psychology. It's how leaders think, how they react under pressure, and how they make those daily, gritty decisions. Let's kick things off with pillar number 1, the psychology of leadership. We have to establish right out of the gate that every major organizational achievement, whether that's building an enterprise-level business from the ground up or leading your team to an industry championship, starts with one fundamental element: a thought. This is the operational pipeline of success. Before someone builds a business, they first have to actually believe it's possible, right? A leader's mind creates their actions, and in turn, those actions systematically construct the future of the entire enterprise. The logic here is inescapable. If you change the thinking at the leadership level, you fundamentally alter the entire trajectory of the organization. It's really that powerful.
Moving on to pillar number 2, solution-oriented thinking.
Now, here is where we start to see a massive divergence in the data. When faced with friction, and we all face friction, the average mindset asks, why is life so hard? It immediately goes to that place of victimhood. But the successful executive mindset, it immediately pivots to, okay, how can I solve this? The absolutely crucial point here is that the specific questions a management team asks in the boardroom, well, they completely dictate the quality of their organizational life and output. Building on that, the average mind focuses obsessively on problems, while the successful mind focuses relentlessly on solutions. In a high-performing executive mindset, every single challenge is viewed strictly as an opportunity to grow stronger. It completely shifts the narrative away from problem dwelling. The market shifted, the supply chain got disrupted, another endless, soul-crushing cross-departmental alignment meeting. Look, to a successful leader, these aren't dead ends. No way. They are just new parameters for the strategy.
Which brings us to pillar 3, the power of self-belief.
During the early, super fragile stages of any bold strategic initiative, when you're really trying to innovate or disrupt the status quo, nobody is going to believe in you. Seriously, people will laugh, people will doubt you. Board members and industry veterans will routinely tell you what you're trying to do is flat out impossible. But as a leader, if you're waiting for everyone else to believe in your vision before you execute, you're going to be waiting forever. Sometimes raw, uncompromising internal belief is literally the only resource you need to begin driving a new initiative forward. They believed in themselves before the world did. Just let that sink in for a second. This is the core trait of those who ultimately achieve the impossible. They simply didn't need external validation to validate their internal strategy. For executives leading the charge on new, untested horizons, this level of steadfast conviction isn't just helpful, it is absolutely mandatory. Next up, pillar 4, strategic delayed gratification. The human brain naturally, biologically craves immediate rewards. We all want the quick win, right? But true strategic success at an organizational level requires the discipline to play the long game. Macro strategy really just boils down to daily micro trade-offs. Reading instead of scrolling, saving corporate capital instead of frivolous spending, actually learning market dynamics instead of just wasting time. Success massively rewards those who can wait, and every successful leader understands this principle deeply. The ability to make strategic sacrifices today directly engineers a stronger, more profitable tomorrow. It's trading your present comfort for your future dominance. Let's jump into pillar 5, fostering a growth mindset. This really explores the critical difference between seeing capabilities as fixed versus seeing them as fluid, which dictates exactly how an organization processes failure. There is one tiny little word that changes the entire dynamic of a workforce. Yet, think about it. There are two kinds of teams. One hits a wall and says, "We can't do this." The other hits the exact same wall and says, "We can't do this yet." This single word acts as a huge strategic pivot point for your entire corporate culture. It acknowledges that every master was once terrible, every expert was once a complete beginner, and that growth comes strictly from continuous learning, not from starting out perfect. As an executive, this maxim has to become the foundational reaction to setbacks within your teams. Failure doesn't define you, it teaches you. Look, if your culture punishes failure, your people will just stop taking the calculated risks required for real innovation. But if you frame failure as data collection, as a teacher, you build an unstoppable iterative machine. And finally, Pillar 6, cultivating high-performing environments. Strategy is vital, obviously, but the company you keep and the culture you build around yourself will ultimately dictate your ceiling as a leader. Negative people create negative thinking, while positive people inspire positive action. If you look around at who you spend the most time with, you got to realize that your environment and your inner circle of executives influence your mindset far, far more than you might consciously realize. It's like a slow, invisible osmosis. Because of that, you must view this as a strict hiring mandate. Aggressively curate your environment. Hire and partner with people based on these 3 criteria. Choose people who challenge your assumptions, people who genuinely support your broader vision, and people who push you towards your strategic goals. Cultivating this kind of ecosystem ensures continuous organizational momentum and really safeguards against complacency. Okay, let's look at a macro case study using a really powerful metaphor here. Imagine 2 children who represent 2 competing corporate divisions. They both experience the exact same setback. Let's just say they both fail the exact same crucial exam. Now, here is where the split happens. Reaction 1. The first child internalizes it and thinks, "I'm just not smart enough." Fast forward 10 years, and that individual still fears failure and completely avoids risk. Now look at reaction 2. The second child looks at the exact same failure and thinks, "I need a better strategy." 10 years later, that individual has built massive confidence through continuous learning. Remember, the event was identical, but the internal mindset completely altered the 10-year outcome. This is a stark warning to management everywhere. Organizational resilience isn't about avoiding the setback at all. It's purely a product of the mindset you apply to the setback. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this fundamental truth. Your organization's future isn't written by your past quarters. It's written by the psychological decisions you make today. The greatest investment you will ever make isn't in a flashy new business acquisition, a giant corporate headquarters, or a fleet of cars. It's in your mind. Train your mind to think differently, and success will inevitably follow. Because every great organizational achievement begins with one powerful individual belief. I can become more than I am today. So I leave you with this final provocative question. How will you rewrite your organization's future by shifting your mindset, starting right now? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really look forward to seeing how you apply these strategies out in the field.